Most people believe that the companies shaping the future of artificial intelligence are already obvious. They think the winners are locked in. They think the biggest names, the loudest stocks, and the most talked about companies have already claimed the crown. Nvidia, Palantir, giants that dominate headlines and portfolios. But what if that belief is wrong? What if the real race isn't happening where everyone is looking? What if the most important AI story right now has nothing to do with chips, software, or algorithms at all? Because behind every AI breakthrough, behind every data center, behind every trillion-dollar valuation, there is one silent requirement that no amount of code can replace: power. Real, continuous, industrial-scale power. And that is where this story truly begins. Artificial intelligence is often described as a once-in-a-generation or even once-in-a-civilization technology. Models are getting larger, smarter, and more expensive to train. Data centers are expanding at a pace the world has never seen before. Entire industries are being reshaped in real time. But there is a problem that rarely makes headlines. AI does not run on imagination. It runs on electricity, massive amounts of it. Every query, every training cycle, every real-time inference consumes power. And not just any power. AI needs electricity that is reliable, nonstop, and scalable. This hidden demand is quietly becoming one of the biggest bottlenecks in the future of technology. Most people assume that renewable energy will solve this issue. Solar panels, wind farms, batteries. But those solutions come with a hard truth. Solar only works when the sun shines. Wind only works when the wind blows. Batteries can help, but not at the scale required to power massive data centers around the clock. AI does not sleep. It does not pause at night. It does not slow down when the weather changes. And the power grids that were built decades ago were never designed for this kind of load. The result is a growing gap between AI's appetite for energy and the world's ability to supply it. This problem matters now because the demand curve is accelerating faster than infrastructure can keep up. Governments are racing to secure energy independence. Tech companies are scrambling to lock in long-term power contracts. Utilities are warning about grid constraints. And behind the scenes, investors are starting to realize that the next phase of the AI boom may not be decided by who has the best software, but by who can keep the lights on. This is where a new category of solutions enters the picture. Instead of relying on traditional power generation methods that take decades to build or depend on unpredictable conditions, a different approach is gaining attention, one that promises continuous power, low emissions, and scalable deployment. Not the massive nuclear plants of the past, but something smaller, modular, and designed for modern industrial needs. This category aims to deliver reliable energy exactly where it's needed without overloading existing grids. It's a solution that has been quietly developing for years, largely ignored by mainstream investors, but now moving into the spotlight as AI forces the world to rethink how power is generated and distributed. This new approach exists because traditional solutions are struggling to meet modern demands. Large power plants are expensive, slow to build, and often delayed by regulation and public opposition. Renewables alone cannot guarantee 24/7 reliability at scale. Fossil fuels face growing environmental and political pressure. The world needs something that can bridge the gap between sustainability and reliability, and that is why this story has suddenly become relevant. Halfway through this shift, one company has emerged as a focal point for investors watching the space closely. The company is NuScale Power, ticker symbol SMR. NuScale is not a household name like Nvidia or Palantir, but it operates in a space that could become just as critical to the future of AI and advanced technology. Founded with the goal of modernizing nuclear energy, NuScale focuses on small modular reactors designed to deliver consistent power in a flexible and scalable way. NuScale's core idea is simple. Instead of building one enormous nuclear plant, it builds smaller units that can be combined based on actual demand. Each unit generates a fixed amount of power, and customers can start with a few modules and add more over time. This reduces upfront costs, shortens development timelines, and allows power generation to grow alongside demand. For industries like data centers, manufacturing, and advanced computing, this flexibility is a major advantage. What makes NuScale especially important in this story is its regulatory position. It is the first company in its category to receive design approval from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. That approval is not easy to obtain. The process is slow, detailed, and extremely strict. Being first matters. It creates a regulatory head start in an industry where approval is often the biggest barrier to deployment. Without it, projects remain theoretical. With it, they move closer to reality. The technology itself is based on well-understood nuclear principles, which reduces experimental risk. Instead of reinventing how nuclear reactions work, NuScale focuses on simplifying and standardizing the design. The reactors are cooled using passive systems that rely on natural physics rather than complex machinery. That means fewer moving parts, lower operational complexity, and improved safety features. In simple terms, the system is designed to shut itself down safely without human intervention if something goes wrong. Beyond electricity, these reactors can support multiple industrial uses. They can provide power to data centers, support district heating, enable desalination, and even contribute to hydrogen production. This versatility matters because it expands the addressable market. NuScale is not just an electricity company. It is positioning itself as a foundational infrastructure provider for the next generation of industrial and technological growth. So why is this story happening now? Timing is everything. Governments are revisiting nuclear energy as part of long-term climate and energy security strategies. Policy discussions that once avoided nuclear power are shifting toward pragmatic solutions. At the same time, AI-driven demand is forcing tech companies to think beyond short-term energy contracts. Long-term reliability is becoming a strategic necessity. When public policy, industrial demand, and technological constraints align, attention follows. Market momentum also plays a role. NuScale's stock has seen increased volatility and interest as investors search for ways to gain exposure to the infrastructure side of the AI boom. It is not uncommon for early-stage infrastructure companies to trade at premium valuations before revenue fully materializes. That premium reflects expectations, not guarantees. And this is where the financial reality check becomes essential. NuScale does generate revenue, but not from operating power plants yet. Most of its current revenue comes from engineering services, project development, and design work related to planned deployments. This is important because it shows early commercialization and real engagement with customers. However, it also means that large-scale revenue depends on successful project execution in the future. The company has strengthened its cash position through capital raises, giving it the ability to continue development without immediate financial pressure. Cash matters in this industry. Nuclear projects require patience, long timelines, and regulatory navigation. A strong balance sheet reduces existential risk, but it does not eliminate execution risk. NuScale's valuation reflects optimism about future deployments, and that optimism can quickly change if timelines slip or projects are delayed. Partnerships play a critical role in validating this story. NuScale has announced agreements and collaborations with utilities and energy developers exploring SMR deployment. These partnerships signal interest and intent, but they are not the same as completed plants. Investors need to understand the difference between progress and completion. Every milestone matters, but none guarantee final success. Real projects are being discussed in regions looking for clean, reliable power solutions. These projects often move in phases, starting with studies and design work before construction decisions are made. Each phase generates data, experience, and sometimes revenue. But each phase also carries the risk of delay, redesign, or cancellation. This is the reality of large-scale infrastructure development. So, is this stock really beating Nvidia and Palantir? Not in revenue, not in profits, not in scale. But that question misses the deeper point. This is not a competition of business models. It is a comparison of exposure. Nvidia and Palantir represent the visible layer of the AI revolution. NuScale represents the invisible foundation that may determine how far that revolution can go. If AI continues to grow at its current pace, the demand for reliable power will not be optional. It will be mandatory. The upside potential is significant. If SMR deployments accelerate, if regulatory support continues, and if demand from data centers and industrial users materializes, NuScale could become a key player in a critical infrastructure market. The downside risk is equally real. Delays, cost overruns, policy shifts, or public opposition could slow progress or derail projects entirely. This is not a short-term earnings story. It is a long-term infrastructure bet. The big takeaway is simple. The future of AI may depend less on who writes the smartest code and more on who solves the hardest physical constraints. Power is one of those constraints. NuScale sits at the intersection of technology, energy, and policy. That makes it compelling. It also makes it risky. Investors watching this space are not looking for quick wins. They are looking for signals that the foundation of the next technological era is being built. If you found this analysis helpful, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who follows AI or energy stocks. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dive market stories that go beyond the headlines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.